Fanciulli the Occident is the latest full-length album from Laetitia and Holocaust. This is an Italian group who started out as a duo quite a few years ago, about 20, and their general focus was on pretty straightforward black metal influenced by the Norwegian style. They eventually discovered compatriots in Abraham and Spite Extreme Wing and that whole scene, and eventually their first couple of records, when they finally worked up to it, were compared to groups like Vedwen's End and that kind of thing. Now, keep in mind that they were not using a real drummer or a human drummer for those first couple of records. They're a little bit hard to find. They're not necessarily great, but you get a sense for the guitarist's sense of writing riffs and his general compositional skills. So their initial build-up is not necessarily the most important precedence, but it is precedent set for what they've done since 2019, kind of reforming and putting out 3 records since then. Fauci Tra Fauci was my introduction to their style, and I'm familiar with a lot of bands they were always compared to, but I found them a little bit different. There was none of the industrial black metal feeling in there, and it was more, a little bit more folkish on that record. It was a little bit more focused on the riff and melodicism surrounding it, and Heritage was a little bit more different in that it was more of a progressive metal album. They're both progressive black metal, but Heritage maybe expanded that border to just a general progressive metal type of thing, as the bass guitar performances that were largely fretless from what I understand, their compositional style became more avant-garde over time and more eclectic. So what are they doing now? We'll cut to a clip here and get a sense for how their sound has evolved beyond Heritage. So I guess heading into a band's 5th album, there's a lot of baggage of expectation, if they're well known at all. In truth, this is probably more the 3rd record that anyone's noticed by the band, and it is very much in the style and progression that they've devised since 2019. This is more of a build upon Heritage than it is a step into something entirely new. There are songs here that strike very heavily into a pocket of riffcraft, particularly from Plowshares to Swords and Earth is a Furnace and the opener. They definitely convey this a more interesting side of the band than the rest of the album. I would say there are long instrumental songs that I find somewhat inconsequential and centered around their progressive metal ticks, and those take up a large bulk of the album's length. And so we get a couple of interludes, we get a couple of big songs. The general purpose and force of this record is parsed between many different modes, and I think that develops into a strong progressive metal record, but not the most satisfying black metal record. I think as far as progressive black metal records go, they tend to benefit from flow through the experience, and I feel like this one is congested at every turn to the point where it makes for a creative progressive black metal record and an avant-garde one in some respects, but not necessarily what I was looking for in terms of a follow-up to Heritage, and also not something all that different either. So it was kind of neither here nor there for me. Some of these songs are very well above average, and they really hit it out of the park, and some of them just don't at all. And I think that as much as I like everything that they're doing on this record, I don't think all the pieces fit all that well together. So I appreciated the visual design of the record. I think the sound design is quite good at this point for this band. Performances are strong across the board, but there was nothing that would bring me back to this record anytime quick, just because it wore out its welcome pretty early in the review process. So it was a little bit painful to fully get through that whole thing, but it's not a bad record at all, and I think people who like progressive black metal will find it entertaining, and it's a good introduction to what the band does. Although I would probably say Fauci is where I would start and kind of stick with in terms of their overall body of work. So that releases on May 31st. Go ahead and check that out when it does, and read my review if you feel like it.